When my best friend went to confront her husband's mistress, she mistakenly caught my husband's concubine instead. My friend asked me if I wanted to file for divorce together. Everyone expected me to make a huge scene. Pei Qingshi also shielded that woman fiercely. But I shook my head. I won't divorce him. Zhao Shizhu and I were childhood sweethearts. She was of noble birth, fiery and bold. Upon learning her husband Pei Ling had brought back a Yangzhou courtesan, she stormed off, dragging me along to confront them. Pei Ling and she were betrothed since childhood. They grew up bickering constantly. Childhood sweethearts. A pair of lovable adversaries. A union straight out of a romance novel. Yet in the end, it all turned out so bitter. Pei Ling gave the cape she had made with her own hands to that delicate courtesan. The reward for suppressing bandits was exchanged for a courtyard with hot springs, where he could nurse that courtesan back to health. Zhao Shizhu kicked open the courtyard gate. Inside, elegance and luxury reigned. Every blade of grass, every tree, a masterpiece of artistry. Each brick and tile, meticulously carved and crafted. The owner's devotion was plain to see, truly worthy of the phrase "a golden house to hide a beauty." Soon, guards brought the prisoner before us. The woman was forced to kneel on the ground, lifting a familiar face. In that instant, Zhao Shizhu and I both fell silent. Zhao Shizhu pointed at her face, speechless. You. Just then, the steward here stepped forward, his legs trembling. This Western elegant garden belongs to Magistrate Pei. Who dares trespass? It turned out that Pei Ling's residence with the hot springs was in the eastern part of the city. We had come to the wrong place. The owner of this western estate was another Lord Pei. Pei Ling's younger brother, Pei Qingshi. Oh, right. He was also my husband. The woman before me glared at me and said, Pei Qingshi loves me. You shamelessly usurped his legitimate wife's position. Yet still aren't satisfied, now you come to humiliate me? Her words weren't entirely untrue. Once, Zhao Shizhu brought me to the Pei residence to play. Pei Ling was busy playfully wrestling with Zhao Shizhu. Pei Qingshi sat quietly nearby, reading a book. My lowly status left me too timid to speak, so I sat awkwardly by. One day, spring was in full bloom. Summoning my courage, I struck up a conversation with Pei Qingshi. I recited the words I'd rehearsed countless times in my mind. Second young Master Pei. Have you been reading Wandering Cloud Hermit's Travels in the Stone Pools lately? I've read it too, and I don't think he's as detached from fame and fortune as others claim. These words had been carefully crafted and revised countless times, all to make a good impression on him. Nervously clutching my skirt hem, I harbored a faint hope. After a long pause, I received but a single word. The most humiliating response imaginable. I felt so ashamed I wanted to vanish into a hole. Fortunately, just then, Zhao Shizhu called out, Shuang. Come judge this. I answered and hurried over, lifting my skirt as I ran. That night, I couldn't sleep. Tossing and turning, my mind was filled with Pei Qingshi. No, I couldn't just give up like this. Later, I tried several more times. Pei Qingshi's attitude toward me improved after an incident when Pei Ling insisted he do Zhao Shizhu's homework for her. Pei Qingshi looked troubled, unsure how to refuse. One was his elder brother. The other was the sole daughter of the esteemed Longzhu princess. Then I said, Second young Master Pei and Shizhu have the same tutor. If they find out. Only then did Zhao Shizhu abandon her scheme. That day when we parted, Pei Qingshi, for the first time ever, said thank you to me. I was so delighted I couldn't sleep again. I thought, with Pei Qingshi being so cold and indifferent, I must surely be an exception to him. But later, Shen Yingying's appearance slapped me in the face. That year at the poetry gathering, Shen Yingying looked at Pei Qingshi and smiled. I hear second young master Pei is exceptionally talented. I humbly request your guidance. They exchanged poems. Back and forth. A spark ignited in Pei Qingshi's eyes. My smile grew stiffer by the second. Shen Yingying appeared so effortlessly. And she stayed. At the Qixi Festival Fair, couples strolled hand in hand. At the temple, pairs prayed for love together. I was always the one left alone. All those past moments seemed like illusions, flowers in a mirror. Moonlight on water. My own delusions. I wanted one last chance. I spent several days and nights copying out a poetry anthology. I rushed to find Pei Qingshi, hoping to express my feelings through ancient verses of longing. But on that very same day, beneath the peach blossoms, I saw him, flushed, handing a poetry collection to Shen Yingying. These are poems I've newly composed. The copy in my hand seemed utterly ridiculous. My father never hired a tutor for me. My talents were ordinary. Though I studied tirelessly, neglecting sleep, I never achieved any remarkable success. My attempts to emulate those renowned scholars and talented women were nothing but a poor imitation. The moment Shen Yingying appeared, she exposed my true self. Months later, the Shen and Pei families arranged their engagement. A match made in heaven, everyone praised it as a perfect union of a talented man and a beautiful woman. By comparison, I felt like a villain in a storybook, someone who causes trouble everywhere yet never truly affects the main characters. That same year, father arranged for me to become the concubine of a 50-year-old minister of the interior. As a secondary wife. Upon learning this, Zhao Shizhu sought out the eldest princess. The princess diverted her attention with a few words about her own marriage. By the time Shen Yingying turned back, my father had already accepted the minister's betrothal gift. I shed 2 tears before my mother's memorial tablet. I thought all night. How should I walk this path ahead? The minister had 7 or 8 wives and concubines. A multitude of children. 2 years prior, he nearly went mad and was saved. I lifted my gaze to the moon, only to see dark clouds. I saw no way out. After that, I never saw Pei Qingshi again. When Zhao Shizhu invited me out, I found an excuse to decline. Gradually, we both became busy preparing for the wedding and stopped seeing each other. Once, I spotted Pei Qingshi from afar. He was selecting hairpins in a jewelry shop. The shopkeeper recommended a red jade hairpin, but without hesitation, Pei Qingshi said, "She prefers white jade." I averted my gaze and turned to leave. Just then, Shen Yingying appeared. She brushed past me, rushing toward Pei Qingshi. I took a few steps before suddenly hearing Shen Yingying call my name from behind. "Isn't this Miss Qin?" I halted, forced a smile, and turned to respond. Shen Yingying, holding Pei Qingshi's hand, beamed at me. "I hear you're getting married too, to the former Minister of Rights." "No less. Congratulations." I avoided Pei Qingshi's expression, swallowing the bitterness in my mouth. I nodded with a smile, maintaining what I thought was decorum. I took my leave. It seemed settled. But 3 months before my wedding, the Shen family was suddenly raided for corruption. Pei Qingshi insisted on marrying Shen Yingying despite his family's opposition. This angered not only the Pei family, but also the eldest princess. She could not tolerate her daughter marrying into a tainted family. She summoned me and declared, "Zhao Shizhu has been arguing fiercely with me over you. She hasn't eaten in 3 days." Only then did I realize that Zhao Shizhu's absence during my wedding preparations wasn't due to busyness. This was heaven's second act of mercy toward me. The first was allowing me to save Zhao Shizhu when she slipped out and fell into the lake. This time, the princess consort was coming with an imperial decree granting the marriage. Shizhu and I were to marry on the same day. Shizhu was to wed Pei Ling, the eldest son of the Pei family. I was to marry Pei Qingshi, the second son of the Pei family. Drums beat. Gongs clanged. And a 10-mile-long procession of red bridal paraphernalia stretched out. Shijus and my bridal palanquins arrived at the Pei residence simultaneously. Pei Ling had been waiting there long before, lifting Shiju onto his back and carrying her over the fire basin. But Pei Qingshi? Not a trace of him. Father Pei said Pei Qingshi had fallen ill at the last moment. I simply replied, "Very well," without uttering a single complaint. On our wedding night, naturally, I saw no sign of Pei Qingshi. It wasn't until several days after the wedding that I caught a glimpse of him. His cold, unfamiliar gaze fell upon me, devoid of any warmth. It felt as though our childhood acquaintance had been nothing but a dream of mine. I fulfilled my duties diligently, always performing my role as a Pei family wife. Every garment Pei Qingshi wore passed through my hands. I inquired after his well-being, attentive and considerate. Half a year after the wedding, urged by Pei's mother, we consummated our marriage. Yet even with our bodies entwined, a veil still seemed to separate us. His distance toward me remained unchanged. Years passed, and my womb remained barren. I didn't know what more I could do, nor did I understand where I had failed. Of course, I would later receive my answer. Shuang Shuang. I wish to divorce. Will you come with me? Zhao Shiju's voice snapped me back to reality. Before I could answer, familiar footsteps echoed in the distance. I lifted my gaze to see Pei Qingshi striding toward us. His features were striking, cold and otherworldly. Unlike Pei Ling's flamboyant energy, he always wore an aloof expression. This was the first time I'd seen him so agitated. His jade crown was askew, his hair disheveled. He feared I and Zhao Shiju had harmed Xiningying. He was overthinking. When had I ever had the power to trouble his beloved? Yet Pei Qingshi still frowned. He looked at me, his voice tinged with coldness. Chen Shuang, if you have grievances, come to me directly. Why stir up such a commotion and trouble my sister-in-law? Pei Qingshi helped Xiningying to her feet. She seemed unsteady, collapsing into his embrace. Pei Qingshi gazed at her pale face, his eyes flickering with tenderness. He turned to look at me, his gaze icy cold. Yingying has nowhere else to go. You're both women, why can't you show her a little understanding? Zhao Shiju couldn't help but snap. Pei Qingshi. Shuang Shuang is your wife. Pei Qingshi scoffed. Wasn't she the one scheming behind the scenes all those years ago? Yingying should have been my wife. What right does she have to make things difficult for her? With that, he shielded Xiningying and walked away. Zhao Shiju, seething with fury, tried to say more, but I pulled her back. Watching Pei Qingshi and Xiningying's retreating figures, I drifted into a moment of haze, as if seeing the past. A spring outing in the countryside. Zhao Shiju and Pei Ling ran off, playfully wrestling. Pei Qingshi and Xiningying walked toward the distance, chatting about topics I couldn't join. I stood silently in place. But today was no longer like those days. Pei Qingshi was right. I had indeed known about Xiningying's existence for a long time. Today, I had deliberately brought Zhao Shiju along. Pei Qingshi's servant said, the second master is busy with the suitcase. He's been staying at the magistrate's office these days. The second lady needn't wait for him. Zhao Shiju retorted. He's surely keeping that slut Xiningying company, just an excuse. I shook my head. No. Pei Qingshi wouldn't stoop to such lies. Besides, the Su Gong case was directly linked to the Shin family's corruption scandal years ago. Pei Qingshi was scheming to overturn the Shin family's conviction. Though Xiningying still lived in a grand mansion surrounded by servants, she remained bound by her slave status. Pei Qingshi hadn't returned home for a full fortnight. Until Pei Ling returned home after suppressing bandits. Zhao Shiju brought up divorce. The Pei household descended into chaos. That lean horse was brought back by Pei Ling during his last bandit suppression campaign. Pei Ling claimed she had shielded him from an arrow, sustaining severe injuries, and that their bond was not romantic. At that very moment, the lean horse approached, stating she could not bear to disrupt Pei Ling's marital harmony and wished to leave. Zhao Shizhu overturned the table, pointing at the woman and cursing her. Pei Ling shielded the woman, in turn berating Zhao Shizhu as a shrew. Zhao Shizhu grabbed my hand. She said, "Shuang Shuang, divorce with me." Just then, Pei Ling arrived. Late. The atmosphere around us fell strangely silent. Zhao Shizhu stared at me with unwavering certainty, awaiting my answer. She even found time to glare at Pei Qingshi. Pei Qingshi's lips pressed tightly together, his brow deeply furrowed. A spring breeze ruffled his hair. A gentleman like jade, yet so merciless toward me. I hesitated to answer. Pei Ling burst into laughter. "Zhao Shizhu, if you're going mad, don't drag my sister-in-law into it. You know perfectly well how much she adores my brother." Had I been more resolute, I should have nodded in agreement to the divorce right then, sparing Zhao Shizhu the humiliation. But in the end, I merely curved my brows at Pei Qingshi and called out from afar, "Husband." Zhao Shizhu left the Pei household. Before departing, she said, "Shuang Shuang, I truly don't understand your feelings for Pei Qingshi." Yet she still left her most capable maid behind for me. After that day, Pei Qingshi also returned home. Our days unfolded as before, quiet and uneventful, as if Shen Yingying had never existed. He even grew closer to me. Once, upon the bed, he couldn't hold back, passionately calling me Shuang Shuang. Yet every few days, he would return late. I never asked where he went, nor did I send anyone to look for him. On one late return, Pei Qingshi brought me a poetry anthology by a master of the previous dynasty. When he handed it to me, I froze for a moment. Only later did I realize he might be trying to make amends. Was it guilt? I accepted it gladly. Though truthfully, I didn't care for reading at all. After that, he always brought me gifts. Mostly paintings and calligraphy. Occasionally cosmetics. Sometimes small trinkets. He seemed to be gauging my preferences. I accepted them all with a smile. At times, I'd feel as though we were an ordinary newlywed couple. Of course, it was only an illusion. But calm waters always stir. Some find such tranquility unsettling. On my birthday, a maid from the western estate rushed to the Pei residence, pounding on the gate. "Master, you must see the young lady. She's harmed herself." My chopsticks dropped midair. The feast before us went untouched. The maids protested on my behalf. Except for the maid Zhao Shizhu had left behind. She was, after all, trained by the eldest princess. I didn't intend to hide it from her either. I asked her to cover for me. The moon had climbed high in the sky. I slipped out quietly through the small gate. West of the city, Pei Qingshi's residence was ablaze with light. Pei Qingshi had left in such haste that the courtyard was in disarray. The servants hadn't even closed the main gate. I heard a woman's sobs from within. In this state, I can't show my face to anyone. I might as well die. Pei Qingshi's voice was gentle as water. It was a tone I'd never heard before. Wait a little longer. I will clear the Shen family's name. Shen Yingying wouldn't relent. The Pei family possesses an empty imperial edict bestowed by the late emperor. Would you use it to marry me? You never truly loved Shen Shuang. You only wed her out of sheer desperation. I heard no reply from Pei Qingshi, nor did I care to enter and watch the spectacle. After all, I was merely passing by. I pulled my hood tighter and quickened my pace. Adjacent to Pei Qingshi's residence stood a larger mansion. Rumor had it a wealthy merchant had purchased it for 10,000 taels of silver. Just as I was about to push open the vermilion gate, It swung open from within. A slender hand reached out, pulling me inside. I thought this year I'd have to wait until midnight again to celebrate your birthday. When I was young, my mother passed away from illness. The maid who served her told me it must have been the concubine's doing. She didn't stay long by my side before father sold her away. In less than 2 years, the concubine was elevated to primary wife. Only when I grew a little older did I learn she was father's childhood sweetheart. He had married my mother only because her family was more prestigious. My concubine-born sister became my legitimate sister. Years later, a legitimate brother was born. I became the most superfluous one in the household. Old clothes and cold leftovers. That was the least of my troubles. Washing clothes and begging for food were common occurrences. The injustices I endured are beyond telling. Amidst countless hardships, I once found what I thought was a way out. Pei Qingshi. Only later did I realize that path was too treacherous. And it never truly welcomed me. Fortunately, Zhao Shishu came through the clouds, reaching out to me. But now, my standing with Pei Qingshi is much like my mother's with my father. Unwanted at home, wished to die soon. In such circumstances, how could I dare to bear a child? After each night with Pei Qingshi, I secretly drank contraceptive potions. Fortunately, he didn't demand much, nor did I drink often. It hasn't harmed my health greatly. These years, I've worked tirelessly. My life is immeasurably better than when I was confined to my maiden's quarters. Thanks to the Pei family, my father's very sight of me leaves him breathless with rage. Zhao Shishu is incapable of managing the household. I manage nearly all the Pei family's holdings. My people are everywhere now. While Pei Qingshi accompanied Shen Yingying on her southern tour to ease her mind, I used my stewardship to line my own pockets. While Pei Qingshi tirelessly worked to overturn Shen Yingying's conviction, I purchased this mansion, settling right next door to him. While Pei Qingshi and Shen Yingying reminisced about their temple fair strolls, I filled my personal stash to overflowing. Blind spots exist. Such is the way of things. Under the moonlight, a man with ink-black hair cascading over his shoulders, arched brows sweeping into his temples, and lips curled in a bewitching smile. Compared to Shen Yingying, he truly deserved the title of fox spirit. Yin Bai murmured, her voice tinged with both shame and resentment, "Your husband has left. And only now do you come seeking me." He hooked my finger, leading me to a secluded corner of the garden. So this is how exciting today will be? Before I could fully process it, I heard voices through the wall, Shen Yingying and Pei Qingshi pouring out their hearts to each other. So this was the game they were playing. Shen Yingying said, "Pei Qingshi, you are all I have now." A rustling sound. Cloth rubbing. Shen Yingying threw herself into Pei Qingshi's embrace. Pei Qingshi didn't push her away. As Pei Qingshi half resisted, half yielded, half concealed, half revealed, Yin Bai was already getting into the groove. I tilted my neck back. The bright moon reflected in my eyes. "Pei Qingshi, I once genuinely wanted to build a life with you. But you looked down on me. So, you can't blame me." Yin Bai was the young master of a wealthy family who had fallen on hard times. Just as pitiful as Shen Yingying. In a moment of recklessness, Yin Bai raised an eyebrow and asked, "When will you make things clear with that sourpuss husband of yours?" I brushed him off. "Soon. Very soon." Back then, I never imagined those words would prove prophetic. The next day, I slept in a bit, being lazy. When I returned to the Pei residence, Pei Qingshi was waiting for me in the courtyard. I froze. Shouldn't he still be with Shen Yingying? Seeing me, Pei Qingshi's tone turned cold and sharp. "Why weren't you at the residence?" Zhao Shishu's maid, who had been left to serve me, replied, "The mistress just returned after taking a stroll." A flicker of regret crossed Pei Qingshi's eyes at her words. "Last night. It was my fault. I promise to spend your birthday with you. But Yingying's situation is pitiful now. I hope you can understand. I nodded, saying nothing more. Pei Qingshi pulled a pastry wrapped in oil paper from his robe and handed it to me. You always loved buying from this shop. It's still warm. It seemed Pei Qingshi hadn't been back long. Seeing me take the meat pie, he appeared to relax. His hesitant expression amused me. After a moment, he finally spoke. I want to accompany Yingying to Jiangnan one last time. After this, I'll have no further ties to her. My hand trembled. The meat pie fell to the floor. I remained silent for a moment. Pei Qingshi sighed, rubbing his temples, his voice tinged with weariness. He said, "You are my wife. No matter what Yingying does, she can never surpass you. Why can't you be more magnanimous? Is there any wife in the capital more magnanimous than me? Allowing my husband to support his childhood sweetheart, draining nearly all my salary and secret savings, only to be secretly reported for it and nearly ruin my career." I forced a bitter smile. When will you return? Pei Qingshi hurriedly replied, just 2 months. Rest assured. Yingying and I have nothing. I nodded, turning away before Pei Qingshi could say more. The meat pie, clutched to someone's chest for so long, lay abandoned on the ground, covered in dust. On the day I saw Pei Qingshi off, I packed his belongings. The trunk was packed to the brim. Of course, mostly with things of little value. I smoothed the front of his robe. He looked at me, his gaze deep and filled with apology. Shuang shuang. Wait for me to return. I murmured a low response. Inside the carriage, Shen Yingying deliberately lifted the curtain, revealing herself nestled against Pei Qingshi's chest. That night, I went to find Yin Bai. Through the carriage window, Pei Qingshi saw Chen Shuang staring at him impassively. Watching Shen Yingying nestled against him, her eyes showed not a flicker of emotion. Pei Qingshi hastily drew the curtain shut, glaring at Shen Yingying with irritation. This is ridiculous. Shen Yingying's eyes reddened, but she stubbornly remained silent. Pei Qingshi's heart instantly softened, unable to utter another word of reproach. He had already wronged her so many times. He couldn't bear to cause her more pain. The first time he betrayed her. In their youth, they had been betrothed. Yet in the end, he had broken his promise and not married her. The second time he betrayed her. Just days ago, Shen Yingying had demanded he take her as his wife. Naturally, he refused. He already had a wife. How could he divorce her without cause? But Shen Yingying retorted, she hadn't borne him a child in 5 years, why couldn't he divorce her? Have you forgotten our promise? Have I truly vanished from your heart? Even if I have, so what? Not all who love each other are meant to be together. Pei Qingshi remained unyielding. Shen Yingying threw herself into his embrace, pleading, "You're all I have now." Pei Qingshi did not push her away. He did not know that just one wall away, Chen Shuang heard it all clearly. But Pei Qingshi and Shen Yingying did not go all the way. Pei Qingshi forced himself to resist, helping her put on her clothes. Shen Yingying looked at her with embarrassment, 2 clear tears streaming down her cheeks. Pei Qingshi said, "Between you and me, this cannot be." He looked at Shen Yingying, his heart aching. Yet he was a gentleman, he could not continue like this. Shen Yingying seemed to snort softly. After a long moment, she said, "Qingshi, grant me my final wish. Take me to Jiangnan one last time. Just the 2 of us. As if we were husband and wife. Let it be as though we were married in this lifetime." Reason told Pei Qingshi he should refuse. But how many decisions in life are truly made by reason alone? Shen Yingying pressed close to him, her soft hand clutching his robe. "When the time comes, don't refuse me again, okay?" This time, Pei Qingshi nodded. He thought it was merely to temporarily appease Sheniying. And deep down, he harbored a faint hope. Once we're in Jiangnan, no one will know. Many years later, Pei Qingshi wondered countless times, had he not agreed to accompany Sheniying to Jiangnan, would everything have been different? Or was it one misstep leading to a cascade of errors? I lived a carefree month. Zhao Shizhu glanced at Yinbai and said, "TSK, TSK, TSK. Never imagined you hid it so well." I smiled shyly, "You're not half bad yourself." She arrived accompanied by a handsome male companion. When Pei Ling rushed over, he saw Zhao Shizhu leaning against the man's abs, radiating sensuality. "Zhao Shizhu, how could you do this to me? We've only been divorced a short while, and you've already found this sort of thing? Where am I supposed to hide my face?" Zhao Shizhu sneered coldly, "Your words are too harsh. He saved my life when I was gravely injured." Pei Ling nearly ground his teeth to dust. "What injury could you possibly have?" Zhao Shizhu replied, "A broken heart." With that, Zhao Shizhu prepared to see him out. Only then did Pei Ling begin to panic. "I won't leave. If I go, who knows what you'll do with this man?" He stubbornly planted himself in the doorway. The servants dared not use force, until Zhao Shizhu raised an eyebrow. What could be done has already been done. Pei Ling froze in place. He stared at Zhao Shizhu in utter disbelief. After all these years of friendship, how could you? How could you? Zhao Shizhu looked puzzled. Did you and that skinny horse really just talk under the covers? A flicker of guilt crossed Pei Ling's eyes. But he retorted, "It was just once. I was drunk. Besides, I'm a man." Zhao Shizhu grabbed the teacup beside her and hurled it at Pei Ling. "Get out!" As Pei Ling left in disarray, he glanced at me and Yinbai. Zhao Shizhu declared Yinbai was also her male companion. Pei Ling seemed unconvinced. My eyelid twitched. The 2-month period hadn't ended. Pei Qingshi returned early. That day, I was boating with Yinbai. Mountains towered. Waters stretched wide. Few souls in sight. I sang lazily while Yinbai accompanied on the zither. Why must life be filled with sorrow? Cold moon, warm sun, yet joy remains elusive. The river's waves are but ordinary, but my beloved rivals Pan An's grace. I detest writing those pretentious poems. Only skilled at dabbing at doggerel. A sudden downpour struck. My handkerchief was whipped into the river by wind and rain. Without a word, Yinbai leapt in. Moments later, he surfaced at the boat's edge, clutching the handkerchief in his mouth, begging for praise. I lowered my gaze, meeting his eyes with deep affection. When I looked up again, I saw familiar figures on the shore. A man and a woman. None other than Pei Qingshi and Sheniying. Wasn't it supposed to be over after returning from Jiangnan? I didn't voice the question, because the current situation wasn't suitable for making accusations first. Pei Qingshi seemed frozen in place, staring blankly at Yinbai and me. His hands clenched tightly. I stepped ashore, Yinbai obediently standing beside me. Sheniying's eyes betrayed undisguised glee as she blurted out, "Qin Shuang, you're already Mrs. Pei. How could you do something so scandalous? Going out alone on a boat with a man? How utterly indecent." On the walk ashore, my thoughts churned. From the very day I bought Yinbai, I'd considered the possibility of being discovered. I'd long prepared for this. The assets I'd transferred over the years were more than enough for my needs. It was just a pity to relinquish the status of Mrs. Pei. But now, the arrow was on the string, I had no choice but to shoot. But even so, I shouldn't be the one at fault. I stated plainly, Yinbai's background is tragic. His family was among the merchants caught in the crossfire of the Shen family's corruption scandal. Seeing his genuine misery, he nearly ended up at the Nanfeng Pavilion. I rescued him. Just as Pei Qingshi once told me, The Shen family corruption case was a miscarriage of justice. Yet it dragged Ying into its wake. Seeing her in such distress, on the brink of ending up in a brothel, I rescued her. Show some understanding. At that moment, Shen Ying's smile froze on her face. Resentfully, she retorted, "So you're implying you've been involved with this man? That you've already been intimate?" Her words were tantamount to self-incrimination. Pei Qingshi's figure swayed slightly. Before she could speak further, Pei Qingshi, who had remained silent, suddenly stepped forward, seized my wrist, and pulled me away. Yin Bai moved to shield me, but I silenced him with a glance. Shen Ying tried to follow, only to receive a single word from Pei Qingshi. "Get lost!" In a secluded spot, Pei Qingshi fixed me with a piercing stare, his anger barely contained. "Who exactly is he? What's your relationship with him?" I smiled. "Whatever relationship you have with Shen Ying is the same relationship I have with him." Pei Qingshi's fury froze abruptly. He looked at me, flustered. "Ying and we're just. I watched him, smiling. His eyes gradually reddened, until finally he closed them in resignation. The wind blowing in from the river carried moisture. It was thick with the scent of spring, dampening Pei Qingshi's dark hair. His voice raspy. He spoke, "I'll send Shen Ying away from the capital. You should send him away too." A mocking smile tugged at my lips. Pei Qingshi seemed oblivious. Shuang. We're husband and wife. Couples always face misunderstandings. We can clear this up. I won't blame you. Nor will I tell father and mother. Let's pretend this never happened. Okay? I was taken aback. What on earth was Pei Qingshi talking about? Shouldn't he just divorce me outright? Only belatedly did I realize he seemed to harbor some feelings for me, though I couldn't fathom where they came from. I couldn't be bothered to ponder it further. Shaking my head, I said, "Forget it." "How can you just forget it?" Pei Qingshi's voice suddenly rose sharply. "What about these past 5 years? Since I married you. You are my wife. Have you been deceiving me all this time?" Tears welled up in his eyes. I didn't know when. I fell silent for a moment, then smiled. "When have I ever deceived you? I never said I loved you." The first time I met Pei Qingshi, I was pinned to the ground by my legitimate younger brother. Pei Qingshi shot him a cold glance. When my legitimate younger brother grew increasingly brutal, demanding I bark like a dog, he intervened. I should have been grateful to him. But after he left, my younger brother pushed me into the filthy water. That was when I began to hate Pei Qingshi. I am such a wicked person. Pure white flowers cannot bloom from mud. Just like that year, when Zhao Shizhu was pushed into the water by a beggar. I rushed to the scene first. Before saving Zhao Shizhu, I gave that beggar every last coin I had saved. In the days of youthful infatuation, perhaps I felt a fleeting stir of affection for Pei Qingshi. In the days of newlywed bliss, I once thought I would be a good wife to the Pei family, walking beside him through life. But in the end, it was all misplaced. Fortunately, I've always been a villain. Villains don't grieve. The view from the window of the Pei family courtyard. I've watched it through all 4 seasons. Yet in our first year of marriage, I never saw the seasons with Pei Qingshi present. His heart was entirely with Shen Ying. His body was there too. The Pei family believed my lowly background meant I deserved such humiliation. When Lady Pei, frail and ill, entrusted me with managing the household, she saw me as nothing more than her lapdog, good only for wagging my tail and begging for scraps. I played the fool, seeking her counsel every other day. And then there was Pei Ling, that skinny mare. It was I who leaked the news to Zhao Shizhu. How could Pei Ling ever be worthy of her? She could have divorced him gracefully, casting off that worthless piece of trash. But for me, the time for divorce hadn't come yet. I had money. I had leisure. And my husband wasn't even home. Why divorce? But later, Pei Qingshi spent more and more time at home. I gradually found it unbearable. I clawed my way out of the mire only to live the life Pei Qingshi once led. His presence before my eyes irritated me. But these things, I would never tell Zhao Shizhu. I love her, she needn't know my wickedness. It's enough that she cherishes me, that she sees me as her dearest friend. 16. The end. In the end, Pei Qingshi gave me a divorce decree. He said he had sent Shen Yingying away. The Shen family corruption case was never a miscarriage of justice. He was merely deceiving himself. He didn't give me a letter of divorce because he felt he was at fault first. His self-awareness surprised me. Unlike his shameless elder brother, who still believed Zhao Shizhu had wronged him. Day after day, he pestered Zhao Shizhu, demanding an explanation. What explanation? Unable to bear the harassment, Zhao Shizhu took in 2 more male favorites. Each time Pei Ling visited, she favored one of them. At least it wasn't her who bore the burden, nor was she the one who couldn't bear it. After our divorce, my father came to see me once. He wanted to remarry me off. I listened to his endless chatter with a smile, instructing my maid to serve him a fresh cup of tea. He collapsed the very day he returned home. I had already bribed the physician. No matter what they examined, they found nothing. They probably just said it was old age. But I never expected him to summon the imperial physician. A minor official like him shouldn't have access to imperial physicians. Who knows what connections he pulled? But he actually managed to get one. My heart skipped a beat. But just as I was packing my bags to flee, Zhao Shizhu came to visit. She said she'd heard my father was seeking a physician and had specially sent Dr. One, who was acquainted with the eldest princess. My heart suddenly settled. It seemed she had known all along. After the divorce, I saw Pei Qingshi twice more. His career hadn't prospered, yet he still carried himself with the same lofty, crane-like dignity. He said he wanted to start over with me. Giving me the divorce papers was also giving us both a chance to begin anew. I didn't refuse. After all, it meant gaining a powerful ally. But the following year, Yinbai passed the imperial examination as a third-place scholar. The 5th year, Yinbai's career flourished, rising to a 5th-rank official, equal in rank to Pei Qingshi. Yet in the end, it all ended so tragically. I knew it was her doing. The 6th year, Yinbai proposed marriage once more. This time, I accepted. Zhao Shizhu sighed. I had him shield you from those ill-fated suitors. Not marry you. I smiled. If you dislike it, I can divorce him again. You are always the most important to me. She playfully hit me. You're so annoying. Spring breeze laughed. Faces and peach blossoms blush in harmony. In this mortal world, one cannot have everything go as wished. But having one wish fulfilled is enough. The end.